Hey everyone, Egman here with another team talk, and we've got special guest Jackson. How you doing, Jackson?
I'm good. Thanks you guys for inviting me.
Yeah, I really wanted to have one where we had kind of like the past North American finalists, the present, and the future. And me. And me.
Sir.
I had a 50-50. I was going to say and Eggman or in Russell, but I decided to be the kinder on that one. But honestly, I'm really excited for this. I've been wanting, essentially since Cardfest, want to record this, and I appreciate all you guys being free. Adding a fourth head makes it always a little bit trickier for scheduling wise, but really do appreciate it. And let's just talk about Cardfest in general. Jackson, you had a bit of a poor performance, but how was the weekend in general?
Yeah, it was a little disappointing. I wish I could have done better. No, yeah, I think I set out to achieve my goal. Funnily enough, I told everybody like, yeah, anything less than second is a disappointment to me. I already got second, so I had
Yeah.
to go for first. So it's really cool to be able to actually get first. But yeah, no, it was a really cool, fun event, successful, and I'm excited to go back to Worlds.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, were you worried about bringing Black Yellow Luffy? Was it something that you were pretty locked into immediately, or uh, what were your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I think regardless of my result, I think Black Yellow Luffy was definitely the deck that I would not regret bringing. I kind of locked it in since beginning of OP07, even before like when I thought like RP Law was the best deck. I
Mm-hmm.
was like Black Yellow Luffy kind of feels like my jive, and like I'm gonna bring this to Nets. And then even after the bans, I was kind of even more sure because that was the only top deck that was untouched.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if the deck can carry me of all people, then yeah, it's probably a little bit strong in a lot of ways. So I think it was great. I think the performance on stage was great too. And I don't. Did you know that I was commentating the finals? I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't
uh,
know any of my sides. I knew Steven and Doa were because I
yes.
watched the earlier rounds, but I didn't know you were. So I was a little
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah. So I kind of snuck in for like the top eight. I got permission. I didn't just walk onto the stage and say I belong here now. But there's like an interesting issue with Dragon Ball and like some rights issues. But yeah, I was able to do that for top eight, and it was super fun. So, but yeah, I think it was super cool, especially just how like game two ended. I think you said like you were prepared to lock in for game number three, right?
Yeah, like if you look at my facial expression, like focus on it in the last like 20 seconds, you can see like I look kind of mad because I'm like, I just want to get this game over with. Like I'm not gonna win. I just want to go game three already.
Yeah, yeah, it was super tight. Yeah, and you just sort of like I think we had this thing where like because you made one big swing and you countered out of it, and then you're
Mhm.
like, well, we could do like a 5 and a 6 and get there,
Right.
and it definitely got there. It was quite the final. I think it was really cool. So
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool climactic ending.
yes, so happy to see you at Worlds again. I'll see if I can. I definitely want to go to Japan again, so we'll see if I can make the thing for it. But yeah, third place last year. So is this the year of like anything less than third is a disappointment now for Worlds? The same
Oh yeah,
mentality.
I gotta keep the same tradition. Like ideally, first or nothing. But if I take second now, I don't think I can be mad. Especially because there is more people now. It's 32 people, so maybe twice as hard.
Yes, yeah. So I think that's going to be really fun, and then both you and Jonas also went to the Liverpool finals too, right? Was that a good like warm up for it? Because Jonas, you had a topping record, but you weren't. You got tiebreakered out, and then Jackson, I think you got in, or did you go X3? I can't recall.
I lost the last
X2.
round.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. So you guys were pretty close, but I think that tournament was also like equally stacked in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
yeah.
a lot of the top Americans, top Europeans came, and it was like a really good showing on both parts. Honestly, like I'm glad that all the Americans did well. I'm glad like an EU person ended up topping the whole thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was really cool, really fun.
Awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. Jonas, what was your experience? So you decided to play Rob Lucci for the event, right?
Yeah, I brought Rob Lucci just trying to continue the Liverpool run because I went 8-2, so I was pretty happy with it. In hindsight, I probably should have just played BY, but I still got made it to day two in
Mm-hmm.
the US event. I think I was like ninth or so,
Yeah,
which was
you're
like
right.
very
One seat right below me.
yeah
Yeah,
eight.
yeah. Yeah, because I was
Jackson's
looking
eight.
through the results. I'm like, oh, all right, cool.
It's pretty
Especially
sick.
because your guys' Bandai TCG, I know what they are because otherwise it's just like, you know, Pickle Steve or the random names for that. So luckily you guys are super identifiable for those two.
100%. I was doing a little bit of like math, trying to figure out what my pairings would be for the next day. And honestly, I was pretty pessimistic going into day two. I was playing against Philip Vu in top 32, which was a BY Luffy. And I more likely than not was going to play Jackson in top 16, and then a further onslaught of Black Yellow Luffy with Lucci, which is a horrendously bad matchup. So I wasn't particularly optimistic, and Philip thrashed me in top 32. But it was still a very fun run, and getting top 32 at Nationals is always a good time.
Now, I could be wrong. Was that the first Black Yellow Luffy you faced in tournament that weekend as well?
I was so lucky. Unbelievably lucky to just dodge Black Yellow Luffy 9 times throughout the splits.
I do not know how you did that. That sounds like a miracle in itself.
Luck is a skill, but I think it ran out on Sunday.
Yeah. All right. And
it was
then
still a great run, but yeah, it was a fun time.
100%. So honestly, just good showing. So I mean, obviously, you won the North American Finals in January, and then you X2 at Liverpool, and then X1 at in day 2 for Dallas. So super good run. And then Russell, what did you bring for Cardfest?
Not to be weird, before we jump off of mine,
please,
I want to talk about Jonas.
Sure.
Because I believe you tweeted this out. You, even though you made top 32, you said you regret not playing BY.
Yeah.
Even after like such a phenomenal accomplishment, getting top 32 in Nationals is pretty strong, right? So it's like, it's gonna lead into my
cool, good segue.
My thing of how bad my Nationals was. So pretty much over the course of the 2 weeks, you and I were testing even Egman on your stream.
Yes,
and you're like, y'all merged to BY games, and I was like, all right, we'll play against a different Bonnie player. And then I believe the non-Rosie list, because I kept promoting the Rosie list, is 50-50, if not like 55-45, into a good Black Yellow Luffy player. And I think our games kind of like demonstrated that and helped me solidify my decision making to go play Rosie.
Yeah.
At the same time, I was testing heavily a Perona list with Frank, who also made top 32
with Perona. Yes, yeah.
With the same 50 that me and him agreed to settle on and played, and we grinded 3 hours worth of starter deck Luffy games versus Perona. I lost 10 games in a row as starter deck Luffy, and I was like, all right, I really like this Perona deck, and it was very fun. On the flight over, I realized I didn't bring my Belmirs, and I was like, all right. And then I saw that we had to submit lists by the time we check in. I saw that tweet go out while I was in the air, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm playing Bonnie, and that's not a bad call. I also felt like, if I played Bonnie, I wouldn't regret it, no matter what happens in this tournament. I know I can't switch to Lucci because I'll get gapped by Lucci mirrors, even though I don't believe the current top decks are insanely hard to pilot to perform well. I think there's a layer of expectations I would have on myself where I know I would be getting gapped by all the players who can make top 32 and have been playing Lucci and Black Yellow Luffy for quite a long time, because there's a lot of nuanced turns and lines that I wouldn't be able to recognize without the experience of picking up those decks in time. So I was like, all right, if there's going to be Bonnie players there, I might as well be one of them. And I'll see if I can high roll and see all the BY Luffys. Round 1, I play against a Lucci player. I draw no Hawkins. I get stomped. And then that cascades into a tournament where I played 4 Luccis, a Reiju, a BY Luffy, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 to 4 Namis. So I might be one less Lucci. But basically, when I sat down, they were either Lucci or Nami, and it was against a BY Luffy. I saw no top end, and so it was a pretty frustrating event for me. And I regret now playing Gecko Moria. No matter what happens, I was like, all right.
As in, not the leader, right? Like a deck that runs 8-drop Moria, right?
Yeah. Right now I'm looking at Red Black Sabo because I'm just like, how can I use Gecko? To expose this and maybe OP08 in another fashion.
I was playing Adam Cicero's on my Wednesday night the other day. His Red Black Sabo list looks really fun. With the animal package and stuff. I know Zoro. We'll look at your list with Zoro with it, but hey, if you can protect your chopper with your leader effect once per turn, that's really really good.
And that's what it gets in the starter decks. And I'm not the one I want to talk about OP08 meta starters, but there's a Hina in the starter deck that attaches a Dawn to your leader to a character, and I was like, all right, that's gonna put a lot of decks online. And then at the same time, but then we just get Dofi. Isn't Dofi just broken in the starter deck? So it's very weird to meta game right now. But mid Nationals tournament, I cheered on Jonas. I saw Jackson. I was like, kept going back there when they were like going through the top matches. I was like, oh, how's Sock doing? Because I believe Sock is also like a phenomenal representation of the NA player strength, and so knowing that he also made it is phenomenal. And yeah, a bad tournament for me. I should have played Gecko Moria. I was pretty frustrated. Like throughout the tournament, I would lose, shake my headphones, hands, stand up. I'd be like, I'm an idiot for not playing Gecko. My opponent did 3 Geckos. I did nothing all game. What am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
and
Well,
I think,
at least you have like the solace that your 2 decks Bonnie, like Bonnie got 4th place, right? So that wasn't a bad call in that, and Perona also topped the event. So the 2 leaders you're on at least top 32, right? So they did have potential for that, but
I'm not gonna say anything about their matchup spread, how many Luchis they saw and what they didn't see and anything. But
Yeah,
I think
I remember the Prona actually played him in my last round. He said he went against 6 BYs on Swiss on the first day.
yeah, he farmed. Yeah, it was insane. He lost to you and Quentin, I believe.
Yeah, Quintana.
As his only 2 losses of day 1, and he was like, well, against Quintana, I bricked early, and then I believe against you, he said you guys just had a solid game, and BY can do BY things.
Yeah.
No matter if you're countered, you're not really countered. Like it's just out of there. So yeah, I thought he performed really well, and then he saw Reiju in top 32, and not only is that bad matchup, he also like apparently drew pretty badly. He had a phenomenal run with a rogue deck, and I'm proud of him and proud of like our testing that came out of that. But at least he played Gecko.
Yes.
And big mistake on my part.
Yeah, of all the people here, you were the only one who didn't, huh?
Interesting decision.
Yeah, weird how that kind of rolls out. But honestly, I hope I think it was just a good performance for all y'all as well, and I'm happy just to be able to see you all. Especially sometimes I'm just like in this corner in LA sometimes where I just don't even want to leave my room because it's scary and there's traffic out there. So that was a really good time. I think in general, you guys can correct me. I think the events ran really smooth. And like the merch line, I think was a little better this year than last year. All the demos and stuff. I got a good amount of Union Arena stuff, which I can play on the side now, which I'm excited for, and you can see on my on my website and YouTube in the next little bit of how invested I am on just having fun and playing that. But yeah, any other remarks on Cardfest? Anything that you liked or didn't like or want to see next time? We'll start with Jackson.
I mean, there's a lot I didn't get to explore just because.
Oh yeah, because you were.
Yeah, like I wanted to get merchandise. One cool thing that Japan did at Worlds when we were at the Card Fest is that they gave us basically an order form where we can just order stuff without having to wait in line. Because I never found time to wait in line.
Sure.
So like I missed out on a lot of like the cool stuff. Like I wanted the leader alt art stuff. I had to get a friend to get it. So that was a little sad. But yeah, other than that, like it looked cool. The prize wall looked cool. The exhibitions and all the demos looked cool.
Yeah, and I think I don't remember where I saw this or if this was just like passive rise, but I think they are going to respect that or have it moving forward because Orlando's it's just like 4 months away, 3 months away, 3 months away, four, yeah, not a lot. Well, it's the end of September right now when we're recording this, so it's true. Yeah. So which does anyone? So Jackson include you guys will have to get new invites for that, right?
Yep. And there's not many tournaments to get them.
There are not. No. I think there's
thankfully the store regionals exist throughout the nation, and there's plenty of those going around.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be pretty cutthroat for a while.
I was gonna say, unfortunately, we live in Arizona, Jonas. Yes.
The struggle.
Yeah.
Jackson, are you allowed to play in Orlando?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay. like the invite will pass down if you win again.
I'm assuming, yeah. Just shoot me as like a foreigner, where my invite will pass down at my top.
Yeah. That's like.
Yeah, that'd be You just have like a backup pass at Worlds. All right, you beat.
He's like, oh, yeah.
Just a punch card. That's funny. Jonas, anything you're wanting from Orlando or anything from Cardfest outside of that?
One small nitpicky thing. I heard a few stories about like side events, especially on Sunday. There are relatively long lines for those. So I'm not sure if the resources are available to have more judges or space for those side events, but it'd be really fun to have more like relatively big One Piece events or One Piece games to play after you like don't do well in the tournament or just don't have your invite. So
yeah, because they had like the prize wall this year too, which you could get the tickets for, and I think that's a lot of people are grinding that quite a bit too. So
Yep.
Yeah, some maybe like a medium level thing where you could just like play 3 games, because like in I think at Japan Worlds they had this thing where you have a punch card, you play 5 games. If you got 3 wins, you get bonus prizing. If you lost 3 games, you get still some prizing kind of thing. But
Yeah, I think they call it like gunslingers or something.
yeah, something like that. So that could be a good implementation. But I think something with an issue with like these card fests is that they do all their games, which means that the people who are able to work it also want to participate it in some level. So it's kind of tough to get enough judges, I feel, all the time.
I'd feel that. So one small thing also from the LCQs. Congrats to Chippy.
Oh yeah, I
one
was
more
gonna
time for
yeah
getting his top 8, getting 2 cereals that weekend.
yeah
So
he's insane.
it was a great time.
It's insane.
Yeah, he was super happy. I know he's been really grinding with Black Yellow Luffy as well, and he had some interesting techs on his build. So I remember I just saw him Friday. He was beaming, and he's like, I don't even care what happens for the rest of the weekend. I'm just set. And then he opened the series like, all right, now I don't care about the rest of the weekend. So. And Russell, any other changes you'd like or comments about Cardfest before we move on?
It didn't feel like a nationals. I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it. I said this with a few other players, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm feeling the same way." And I don't. I wish I could explain why. Maybe I can verbalize that over time. I've given it enough thought. I wish that they saved a bit more product for everyone playing on day 2.
Sure.
So like, people had their invites. They're playing in day 1. They can't grind the side events for tickets like everyone else could. I heard they refreshed in day 2 at the start of the day, but all that did was let people consolidate at the end of day 1, walk into day 2 with all their tickets, and they immediately buy the best things that everyone else was there like to kind of grind for. So even after playing in the 128 pod on day 2 relatively early, by the time I got in line, they had nothing but like Straw Hat Dawn packs left.
Sure. Okay.
For like the group of like maybe 20 of us that were sitting around having fun playing inside events and all that. So
yeah.
If they could stock that better or divvy it up in some way, I don't really think my gripe about that is actually too important, because I'm like, oh, whatever. Ran outside event stuff, sure. That means that they had a successful event where tons of people participated, farmed tickets, and then got all their stuff. So I can only complain so much.
But and I was like behind the curtains and mostly twiddling my thumbs for a lot of this weekend. But for the side events, were there any other prizes outside of tickets, or was it like strictly tickets for some events, or how was that divvied out?
More tickets.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe if there's like a hybrid where you get a unique prize and then some tickets, maybe. But I think that's hard to balance too, as you mentioned.
Yeah. The lines, while long, flew by once it was time. Like once it was your time to be like, all right, we're letting in this like 128 pod. We kind of ran up and registered like almost immediately. I think we blew the line. But the fact that we had to line up in the line for quite some time and then line up in the prize. Yeah. The prize wall line was a little frustrating. Again, without having the proper resources, tables, people to staff all that, there's not really a way to alleviate that kind of issue when you have this many players and this many locations. So
I will say I think it was organized good enough where like you knew where the demo area was, you knew where the side event area was, and where the competitive area was. So like I feel like I got a little bit lost at the January one. There's also the LA Convention Center, which is just a massive building in itself. But I think they did a good job at making that pretty clear. So I think the only thing that was missing for me is I was kind of hoping for like a little bit more reveals on stuff. We got some Union Arena stuff and some new information for that, but I think that's might be the case, and maybe it was just because January was only 9 months ago, right? And so maybe they're like, okay, this isn't like big enough for us to like do our once per year things. But I also was expecting maybe something from like Gen Con, because as of recording, we don't know whatever the product they're going to announce in the next day or two for whatever their announcement is. So we'll be late on that. But I'm surprised it's now when it wasn't Gen Con or Card Fest or what have you.
What new product are we expecting?
They're something. Bandai is announcing something. 9/27.
I thought they already announced it.
No.
Oh, the new
Is
team
it?
product,
Is
right?
does it have to do a certain like ninja?
we
like a particular.
we'll talk in like 12 hours. This will be old news. This will be old news. This will be old news.
Okay.
If you guys want to guess right now what you think it is before we and we can, people laugh at you when this gets uploaded. Jack, do you have any guesses, Jackson?
I don't even know. I didn't even know whether it's a new TCG project or just like a sim or something. So I didn't even think about IP.
Yeah, I do not know, but I'm guessing that it is a new TCG project. It could be a simulator, but my guess is based on how often they've been releasing games. It's another game. So
yeah, it's probably gonna be Dragon Ball GT or something. Another
Okay.
Dragon Ball.
all right.
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah,
right.
a third Dragon Ball game to really corner the market. When there's this whole rights issue with who owns the Dragon Ball IP right now.
Uh-oh.
Russell, any guesses? Naruto?
It's Naruto.
Okay, 100%
Yeah.
locking in. Final answer.
I mean, yeah, and hopefully they leave Boruto out of it. They leave that fanfic story out of his greatness.
Jesus.
That's
All
for
right,
Naruto Fusion World.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A hybrid, right? Fusion World cross with Naruto. Man, 20 years ago we'd be losing our minds if that was happening, and now we're like, it's whatever. There's magic has ruined all cross collabs at this point.
It's so many games.
There are so many games.
Like I bought a case of Hunter x Hunter today, and I was like, bro, there might be another game coming. This is ridiculous.
I'm hoping that the Japan or the Asia area and our area has the same One Piece release date. That's my hope.
Okay.
But in terms of like a new game, I'm guessing Gundam.
Okay.
That sounds like a fun one.
I would say like you guys, like the two ideas in my head are like Gundam or Naruto. So you guys are like the same wavelength. I don't know which one I do more. I'd probably say Gundam of the two. But I don't know. We'll find out. I watched all the way. I played the original Naruto card game, so I watched everything up to Shippuden, even the bad like the entire like post Sasuke leaving thing. Spoilers from anyone still living in 2001. So like the Hidden Star Village and like the what?
So you didn't watch the war?
What?
The Shippuden? Like you didn't watch the Great?
No, I didn't watch the good stuff. No.
Fair enough.
Because I was keeping, well, at the time there was a big deal that they put Shippuden in the Naruto card game because they weren't sure if they were going to do it or not, because they didn't know if they had the rights because it was a new season IP thing. And at the time you also couldn't really watch it in English because they also didn't. It was an old time. This is like Crunchyroll wasn't really a thing, and so they kind of like, if you play the card game, you would get spoilers because it was like ahead of anything else in North America for a lot of it. So I got a lot of context clues for a lot of that, and then I stopped playing that game because I had to go to college and card games are expensive. So
yeah,
but yeah, I think Naruto would be cool. I just feel like they keep bumping that IP down the line. So if it is Naruto, I hope this one sticks. So. Well, cool. Well, we'll you guys already know what it is, so you can make fun of us that it's the Hello Kitty card game or whatever it ends up being.
that'd be pretty cool.
Yonas, you want to change your answer?
I might have to commit to Hello Kitty now. So, all right, we're switching it up.
All right. Well, we've got a couple deck lists that we're going to go over in this. I want to say in between format. I've had some people tell me this isn't a real format, and I'm like, people are getting invites to nationals, so it's kind of has to be a little bit real. But these, I wouldn't say any of these are really super competitive, except for maybe the Star Deck Luffy, because it has our best boy Moria in it. But we all just kind of have a deck that we kind of want to talk about. We're going to start off with Jackson with this Marco build that he's got. He's got the Revolution Army kind of package with it. So what's your kind of deal with this guy?
Yeah, so like when I was building Marco, like everybody said like, oh, it's Sakazuki like to the next level or like the next color combination. So I try to make it as Sakazuki as possible, which means I'm trying to play the new Houndblaze for red, which is the Brick Fist.
Yep.
It's like a very worse version of Houndblaze. If it KOs a 3K or less, it'd be so much better because it works with your leader. But a 2K power less isn't that great. But yeah, the whole idea behind this build is just kind of be like Sakazuki, like clear your opponent's board, swing big numbers. But the funny thing is that like early game, I can get your hand big by swinging like 7K, 8K of your life and then putting you to put you back to 5.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Revolutionary Army package I found was like really neat because there's one Revolutionary Army card in blue that I'm playing, which is the Ivankov, which also works for your leader. You can reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a 2 cost, then you can play it. We're only playing 8 cards, or 8 total cards that match this. It's just the Don, which is like a free card, and a 3K body, and then a Koala, which, you know, if you hit off the top of life, then it's a free 3K body. And yeah, and just some of the fun stuff I like to do with Marco leaders that, like, I don't need to use the negative 2,000 reduction and then KO it afterwards. I can use some of my like 3K bodies to swing at your bodies to get value that way. And yeah, then the regular a lot of stuff is like just regular Marco stuff, like Sanji into Rayleigh, Sanji into Dragon,
which is searchable, right? Because you have the
yeah.
Betty 1-drop, right?
Exactly. So yeah, that's the idea behind the build. It's not like it's not going to be winning any tournaments soon, but I have a lot of fun playing with it. It's a super aggro deck, and yeah, you can just beat your opponent down.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of like a little bit of Law, because you play with these little bodies and you can get those good value trades with it, and the minus for it. I recently just did like a big stream testing Marco, and it obviously gets better with the star decks, I think we've decided, but it's just like a really fun, unique deck, and like blue and red, like the only other combination of that before was Vivi, and Vivi I guess can top a regionals out in Oceania. But sorry, I think it was a Treasure Cup. But so it's a viable leader. But it's interesting to see like some combo. Like I think red and blue is like a color combination that hasn't been fully explored in a long time, and so I like some of the text that you're able to add for this one.
Yeah.
How has Rayleigh felt? I want to try that card a bunch now that it got printed, but I haven't had an opportunity to try him out yet.
Yeah, so he's actually really strong in Marco. Like when I was building this, like my top preference were top end was obviously Sanji Whitebeard and then probably Rayleigh, but then he solves the main problem I had with Marco, which is just like efficient clear. So with Marco and Rayleigh, you can clear like an AK body. And yeah, like he feels good in the same sense where I use Marco's leader ability to minus something and then swing at it. He can do the same thing where I minus something by 3K and then I can swing at it with like my 3K bodies.
That's pretty fun.
Now it can't get rid of a 9K body, which there's only like a few of those that are relevant right now, right?
Well, I also have the Gordon, so you can play with Gordon.
That's true.
Then it can get rid of a 9K body.
That's true. That's true.
Or the Revolutionary Gordon.
Yeah, the raise max. So, yeah, for sure. That was a Moria joke. If I don't know if you guys know 8-9.
Everyone caught it.
Yeah, but it is really good to get rid of Jack. I think that's because most other removal in this game is really cost based. So I think there's like a little bit of a niche where red being able to just be like the cost reduction removal. Not a lot of decks really have protection around that, which I think is unique. Cool. Well, I think Marco's cool. I'm looking forward to seeing if it does anything in the star deck meta as well, and we'll see what that looks like. Any other thoughts about your Marco deck before we jump on to the next one?
No, I mean, I would say just try it out. It reminds me of a little bit of Zoro and of Sakazuki, and those are like two of my previous mains. So I try to emulate that as much as possible.
Yeah, and I guess here real quick, just because we have it, if we were to play a quote unquote more serious, you did send me a Luffy deck. Can I put it on screen?
Oh yeah, sure. This is like probably my cookie cutter black yellow Luffy list that I have right now. It doesn't change much.
Yeah, because people are going to ask. People are going to be like, what's Jackson going to play Black Yellow Loki and this? So, yeah, I think the biggest differences that I've noticed from... You took out 10-drop Kuzan. You still have your one-ofs of the Ace, Sabo, and other Ace. And then you're back on Ice Age. Were you on Ice Age on your finals list? I can't remember.
Yeah, I had one Ice Age.
Okay.
It was one Ice Age, 110 cost. But then now it's just 2 Ice Age instead. Partially because people say like it's a slower format, but as a Black Yellow Luffy player, it doesn't feel that way. Like I feel like I have to wake in earlier. Like I can't go to 10 Dawn and be at 10 life and expect me to just overcome your board, because now you can play Jack. Now you can play the big bodies that when I awaken, they're going to swing at my life. So it feels a little bit faster for BY. So that's why I also added in the Makinos, because I need to awaken earlier.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. So, but yeah, obviously there's no new cards, I think, from OP08 that get added. And I don't even think from the star decks you add for this deck, right? It's mostly this for the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
So, cool. All right, well, thank you very much, Jackson. Next up, we've got Russell's build of Zoro. This was something that wasn't onto my radar until like the set really like post Card Fest for the animal package. What's your
Really?
Yeah,
Nice.
I just did not know this. That's just on me. But I didn't see it do really well in Japan. And I don't know, like I don't know about you guys. Every form, every time I do a tier list, people are like, "Oh, why didn't you include this leader?" Or like, "Is this leader good now?" And Zoro is definitely on the regular rotation of like, "Can I play Zoro now?" I have to be like, "No, I don't think so." But I think now he is relevant enough to be able to sneak some games right now.
Yeah. So I kind of built my list as I usually do with red, which is one ofs inconsistent and two copies ofs.
Mhm.
Just because I like having full utility to everything when it fits its like niche scenario.
Mhm.
I know there's like 4 Kid Killer or 4 Zoros, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go 2 and 2 because I'm picky and I can't decide. And I'm just like, fine, I'll just do this. And then I like a one of 5-drop Luffy as like an out to if you haven't drawn into your Diablo Jambe or if you can't see
Mhm.
your Diablo Jambe. Um, after testing this a whole 2 games,
Mhm.
because it's Red Zoro and like
Which
I need to
is
start playing.
usually twice as much as you test for most decks, right?
Yeah, well, like at least like until the start of it, and then I'll give a deck a solid 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
And if I'm still unimpressed with it, I just drop it and have to like go back to whatever 5 health leader I want to play at the moment. Just Shut Up and Come With Us is a phenomenal card. That event is absolutely insane, and it's kind of the only reason I would want to play this deck. Um, and so being able to like loop out the different animals that are available to you while playing Rush feels really strong. I see other lists sometimes are not playing the Sanji, and I don't understand why not. I know it's like bad into like our black meta and just all the removal that's out there, but sometimes you get card starved. Sometimes they can't afford to take a turn to try and find removal to clear Sanji. And I mean, I can only think of all the number of times when I'm playing against a non-black deck and I take an early tempo lead on them, and all they can think to do is, all right, just card starve them, like attempt to card starve Zoro for like the next like 6, 8, and 10 dawn turn that they might have, like if they maybe go first or anything, and having a Sanji in a play on one of your odd turns just it kind of brings it all together. And the fact that you're going to play Just Shut Up and Come With Us means like you kind of have one open at times to have that counter, and so you'll find a way to like finagle like a 7 with lead, play in a Sanji, and then have one up pass. And then if they don't clear the Sanji and swing into you just because they want to like swing chip tempo damage or swing it like one of your animals turn sideways and they're like 4 or 5s, then you're like, fine, I'm just gonna counter out, go grab and let it die, play in another chopper, and then go from there. And yeah, I mean it's Zoro. You just swing. It's so
Yeah,
strong, it's
yeah.
fun. I mean, I can't play Luffy leader. You can't play Dragon leader because the go wide aspect is just kind of the only viable way to deal with 5 health leaders in the current format.
Mhm.
It might be slower. It's slower because this deck's not automatically tier 1. I'll put a hot take. I think this deck's better positioned than Bonnie is in the NA meta. Just because like there's so many Luchis, and I think
Mhm.
like if Black Yellow Luffy players copy Jackson's list, and like I talked about this on you with your stream, is like Ice Age in my opinion is superior than Tenzan into Bonnie, because it has a unnecessary need to like already show a card in play. Like you don't need onboard prep or like you don't need 4-drop Kuzan or like X Y and card to like in order to uh, threaten a removal onto me. And then they're like, oh, like even though they're swinging and pinging, you could still get Ice Age and then clear it out just by Rocket Luffy because that card
Mhm.
just carries that entire matchup, which is phenomenal for it. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
I think
it's
I'm probably gonna be playing it a lot, and then story no time comes, I need to convince myself to play Moria. But deck's fun, deck's good.
Yeah, well, I think honestly this package has caught me by surprise, though. I think it's there's just a lot of good tools for it. Obviously, this chopper is really great. It's really made me want to try to like look at other just like red leaders I've seen. Obviously, like the red green chopper. There are some like merits for playing it right, like 5 cost or Fogger Law does stuff, or being able to play Hody is pretty good for it. We've got 2 red black leaders that could play Moria and this. I think Sabo's the better of the 2, but. And I've seen some builds. Shouts to Adam, I played with recently. He's like, yeah, I can just put a Dawn underneath my leader, and then if you try to get rid of my chopper, I just save it. So just guarantees more of those going off. And I think the deck is. I think the package is cool, and it's going to be interesting to see if there's any like other leaders that can take advantage of all the unique stuff from it.
Yep.
So my last hot take, I think it's a better deck than Reiju right now. Who yes, no, yes? Who am I crazy? Am I among friends?
I haven't played Reiju. I played a lot of Zoro, and this deck feels like really strong. Like definitely top of like the tier 2. Yeah, that shut up and come with us card has two effects. One is like a regular effect. You play something. The other effect is if you leave the dawn open, then you have a 1K counter because your opponent's not gonna swing at you.
Yeah.
It has a third effect when you play against me. I forget the attack is going on, and then we just don't resolve it.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm like, okay, cool. You play the guy. All right. I swing with my new thing. I'm sure I'm not alone on that one, but it's a funny little interaction since it's a counter that doesn't actually give any power addition
Right.
for it.
Yeah. It's also a fun knowledge gap. Like they swing their character on board first, and you're like, yeah, I'll take that. And then they're gonna swing lead because like, why wouldn't you, right? And then you're like, all right, sweet, no more swings. And then you like, shut up, come with us. Hit the like the chopper that can play in another animal, and you just play the animal rested, and you're like, all right, now we're chilling. Like they're not gonna remove both things. Funny tempo plays.
Okay. I'm sorry. One last thing. We could play Marco. We could put Chopper on top of our deck with the Marco effect, and then we could play it out. Next build, yes.
Is that enough for 4 health? No.
No. Doesn't matter. Your opponent's health at 0. They're not attacking you. They're attacking your board. It's easy.
Oh no! If they got no other option, they're kicking our face because we got no blocker.
Gotcha. Well, we got one. We got
we got the one chopper.
A now very expensive chopper. So, all right. Sorry, Jonas. What's your input?
Oh, so I have a weird thing where the second I have like an unfavorable interaction with a deck, I just want to throw it away immediately. And when I played the shut up card the first time, I read that the 5K chopper only works on your turn. And that just put such a sour taste in my mouth that you can't just like play the 5K chopper and then put something else in play. That I was just like, nope, I'm done. But the deck is still very powerful, and I've lost to it plenty of times. So it's definitely a powerful deck. But that one moment was just like, nope, I'm good with this deck.
Yeah, I've definitely played some games, and it has like OP04 vibes where I'm like, oh boy, that wasn't even a year ago. That's crazy. Like OP04, like Zoro just being like, well, I have 5 bodies on board and you have 4 cards in hand. So math says you literally can't do anything about it. But
I remember when red was oppressive. It was like the only color of the format.
Yeah, and then 2023 ended, and they're like, all right, cool. Let's give it to Gecko Moria for the rest of this year. So, well, cool. Any other thoughts before we get to Jonas's deck? Cool. All right, Jonas, you brought Kalgara. I hate this deck. Not like I don't hate playing against it. I hate playing as it. So with that in mind, go for it.
Got it. Okay. So I'm back again with another yellow deck. That's all I'm really good at this point.
And another yellow Sky Island deck, right? You gotta.
I don't think you understand how much I miss playing Ohm into Holly. The Ohm dog combo was just so sick, and I got to play it now, which is super awesome.
I miss it because I never resolves. But
this deck is like scarily fast for a yellow deck. This deck can apply a bunch of pressure relatively quickly, and like even decks like Lucci just can't keep up with your relatively explosive plays. I've played this deck a couple times on Sim, and like whenever you just like play a 4-cost into just going Kalgara plus Wiper, or there's like Kalgara Gadatsu on their first play, you guys just have this overwhelming board your opponent can't deal with it particularly well, and just apply a bunch of pressure at the same time. Additionally, this deck is like surprisingly consistent, having both Shura and Upper Yard to help find your Sky Island pieces. Make sure you find your Kalgaras relatively early. Make sure you find these Wipers and Upper Yard combos relatively fast. And you kind of get to just like run people over a lot of the time. There's a couple drawbacks though. One problem is like there's not many searchable ways, or there's not a searchable way to gain life, especially with your leader ability making you lose a life every turn. Nolan only being a botanist was not the most, or I guess Jaya as well.
Yeah, but yeah.
So like that not having that can be really rough in the matchups where you have to race your opponent, or when your opponent's trying to race you back, like Zoro, other stuff like that. And I kind of try to remedy that with a couple extra blockers of Shirahoshi. You tend to not take a lot of, or you tend to not to counter many hits so you go to 0 relatively quickly, and having this like indestructible blocker when people aren't playing cards that rest Shirahoshi can be super powerful as well. The deck is also relatively light on 2Ks if you want to play more, but this deck's also kind of a pseudo Whitebeard deck between the Elthor and I forget the Shandorian.
The Earth will not lose.
The Earth will not lose. That card is sick.
Yeah.
And like having all these like events defend yourself means like even your opponent tries to go for game, when you have like 8-9 cards in your hand, they can't even try to go for it when they do like 11-12 because you just have a army of events kind of strapped up.
Yeah, I've had some people tell me like they try to play it like Whitebeard, where they just go down to 0, they don't care, and then the Elthor and the Earth won't lose. Unfortunately, Elthor is like reverse Rad Beam, so hopefully, I mean, you should be putting your opponent to 2 or less by that time. But if they're at 3 life, this is really sad. As mentioned, the fact that this card's not searchable and everything bottom decks it, I hate. It's just so rough for the matchup for me.
It's an acquired taste for sure. You just have to get used to it, and sometimes just try to find it and just like keep your hands based off of it. But you see a ton of cards. It's kind of like the pro of playing Whitebeard. You see like sometimes your hand's just like 12 cards because that's all your deck is doing. So hopefully you have one way to gain a life.
Yeah. Any thoughts of like playing? Like I know some people tell me like you can play Yamato, you can play like 8-drop, like any other like alternative ways to gain life. Do you think those are just generally too slow, or what are your thoughts for those?
I think they're just a bit too slow. Just like trying to lean on your aggressive pieces is probably better. I am playing a couple Gadatsus just to get that early pressure and stopping just like your opponent from getting too aggressively fast against you. But you don't really want to play cards like Yamato just because you really need to leave up like an Elthor or 2 when your opponent's like really applying pressure on you. And like congesting all of that Dawn that one particular turn is just going to be too much of a handicap. It's like when you were playing Whitebeard back and you just played a bunch of new gates. Sometimes it's just not enough because your army of guard points and rad beams just don't matter when your opponent says 10-10-10 when you only have 1 Dawn available.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. I really do like the Shirahoshi, like in this format right now. Obviously with red purple lock on, blue's not super present. Like some people are playing Dofi and they'll play a lot of Dofi a month from now, I'm sure. But as you mentioned, this is pretty much like an indestructible blocker, which I think is really nice. And not most decks that are, I think, like 50% of the format or more just really have to accept that this is blocking an attack, which I think is really strong.
Don't talk about pudding though. That card does not exist.
Yeah. 4-drop pudding. I think purple yellow pudding might be a weird matchup for us too. But obviously pudding in. I mean, what's playing that right now? Like Reiju occasionally puts a couple copies.
Yes, there's not many blue decks before the starter deck comes out, so we can have a little bit of a break. So we get to play our get 10 cards in hand deck relatively safe. But the deck still exists and they're relatively hard to play into.
Mm-hmm. Russell, have you tested Calgary at all? Do you have any experience with it?
Just go fast.
Okay.
Go fast that deck.
It's also, I do want to pray. It's super late on the East Coast, so I do really appreciate both Russell and Jackson being free for this. And Russell just did a huge business trip too, so got home and just essentially sat down for this, so appreciate it.
Yeah, and then the Red Zoro games were like 2 sim games I got on like Sunday before I headed over to like, my hotel and stuff. It was funny.
Jackson, any closing thoughts for Calgary before we go to my super meta deck?
No, yeah, I think it's really fun. Like Kagara is, I think the Shirihoshi's so smart because I always have that problem where I can't heal and I don't want to go to 0. So I think that's a really smart addition. The only thing I thought was interesting is that you're not running the flame split because that card feels so great into black, like against Rebecca for me.
Oh yeah, that card is quite good. It probably is worth considering. I just wanted to try to find space for other cards, but you probably should play it. You can trim on some other cards as well to make space for it, but I kind of just wanted to have a boilerplate list.
Yeah, I also like Amaru in the deck too.
It might be called Blaze Cut.
Or too. Blaze Cut.
It might be Flame. It's like something.
Oh boy. Blaze Slice. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
We got there. But yeah, the trigger for it, I think it's a little bit worse than Amaru's, but you can like get like out of an attack with it, which is nice. And I mean, you can make your leader a 6K, right? So
yeah. True Whitebeard fashion.
And it's Punk Gibson.
It is Punk Gibson. Yeah. So
yeah, they played 2 copies of this in the Singapore, the Thailand Black Yellow Luffy list.
Mhm.
Oh, I saw that.
One.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I can see
yeah,
that.
yeah. I was
I
checking
wanted
this
to
earlier.
yeah, I wanted to try that because it's a good RP law tech, but then I never needed to because RP law's gone.
Yeah, it got
Yeah,
banned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In case you want to be a 10K leader, right? Also, like,
That's just disrespectful.
it's disrespectful. Yeah, we need a whole new another digit to express how big my leader is right now. But yeah, I don't know. I can definitely just blame my own experience with it, but it's just like, man, like Ohm only being able to find Holy, this Wiper only being able to find Upper Yard, this not being searchable at all. It's you can definitely have like 1 or 2 like bad searches that just mess up your like your top deck and bottom deck, and then you just feel like you lost a lot of advantage, which I don't think you can really avoid, unfortunately.
Probably not.
So, but I also know that Jonas, you're way better at like knowing what cards you're putting down and cycling. You've got a lot of experience with that, and
I'm also really good at just playing Shura and not putting Yamatos on the bottom. It's
yeah.
just an acquired skill. It comes up eventually.
Yes, I've not sold my soul for that skill quite yet. So. Well, cool. Yeah, I expect Kelgar's already got a couple tops in some of the Oceania events. It did also top some in, I think, early Japan before they're like, oh yeah, red, purple, law or bust for most of OP08 for them. So I expect to see it a little bit in this format too. And then lastly, I wanted to make a video about this deck, and then I got lazy, and I just got like 100 other things I can do. So we're going to talk about it here. Well, I have a captive audience, but obviously this leader was like not playable in a lot of people's minds for a long time. It did well at Liverpool. It did well in Dallas as well. Not as well as Liverpool, but it's a super unique leader, and I think more and more people are getting used to the fact that giving all of my cards +1 cost on my opponent's turn when they have cost specific things. Like obviously, like people think about the black matchup, but like for yellow Luffy. You can only pop 4 lesses. Well, now my Kuzan's a 5. Like, what are you going to do about it, right? Are you going to waste an Ice Age to make my Kuzan cost 0 to pop it? No. So like that's been pretty cool with this deck. And then I think the Navy package has been the most premier version of it. When it topped in Liverpool, they're more of like the Straw Hat variant, playing the 1000 Sunny stage. And I think Navy's going to be really good when we get the star decks because, as mentioned, that Hina being an 8 cost, and you don't really have to pay anything for it, and then you have a 6K leader for literally the rest of the game. That's pretty solid. That's pretty good for the One Piece card game. So, but until then, I think Jack's been like an insanely good card. And my experience with this deck is that, yes, Mori is a fantastic card, but Mori is more of kind of like the follow-up. You have a harder time setting your trash early game with Luffy, and so which is why we're playing the swag, only 3 copies of it. But
That's insane.
yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for playing a disrespectful amount of Moria. But the idea for this deck is that you have like a really good going first curve a lot of the time. You can play Queen and then go into Brook and then Kuzan or like Sabo, and then you can go into your Jack. So this card just can't be beat, even if you rest at turn 1. Like, your opponent has to spend their entire turn most of the time. The fact that it is always like an 11K or a 12K if you have a Dawn underneath your leader, unless you're playing against red, like you do not have to be worried about this. Are they red rocket and then they spent 6 Dawn to get rid of your 7 Dawn card that already got value? So because of that, I really wanted to prioritize seeing Jack, and then obviously if you play Moria next turn, you can get like a cost reduction. I also wanted to have a deck that could kind of maximize on Kaido. I think this card's really strong right now. It helps out on like Nami matchups because making this card 1, black yellow matchups too, where I think Isho is a strong card, but the fact that this can like get rid of either like a 5 cost Luffy or a Sabo because it doesn't KO, it just sends it to the trash. So I think that's a good rotation for it. And then being a 9K and just being able to pressure 9K Black Yellow Luffy a lot of the time. So just the idea, like this can do a little bit better in my mind against Nami and Black Yellow Luffy, which I think Black Yellow Luffy and this Luffy are about evenish. Definitely way better than Rob Lucci's matchup into it, and Nami as well if we have enough interactions with it. That's the idea. So it's been fun. I recommend people just try it out if they have this deck built for the Navy package already. I think maybe the Navy build is a little bit more consistent or a little bit better at like some harder removal, but I still like really sit by this button. If you want to play 4 more, you just take out a Kai. You just switch it out. But 10 top end cards, I think, is great for a deck like this, who later becomes a 6K leader, and your opponent just kind of has to respect that. So,
I've noticed more and more as I play this Black Luffy deck that Jack is just like the glue that holds this deck together in the late game. So I kind of see the vision in terms of just like, we need to find Jack, might as well just like make our main search engine just be the cards that find it. So
yeah,
I like the idea of like that a lot. How have you felt about Sanji? The card has been so hit or miss for me recently. I know people are going down from 3 to 2, but I just want to hear your thoughts on it.
I constantly say, is Sakazuki 6-drop better or Sanji better, right? You always play Sanji with 6 Dawn, right? You put a Dawn underneath your leader and you play the Sanji, right? So it's not like you're even missing out on the curve. I just felt like we have enough ways to put cards in the discard as is. Like Sakazuki on 6 to put a 4-drop Kuzan into your trash and then you play Moria afterwards. That's pretty good, right? That's some good cycle there. Which again, like with Luffy having no inherent way to put cards into our trash, it's a little bit harder for us to do that. But since we're maxing out on our who's and that also discards a card, I decided to just have that as like the, if we need a card into our trash, or just Saba, right? Because we're playing 4 copies of that. Yeah, so I don't know, Sanji or Sakazuki, I think you play 2 of whichever one you think is the better one at the current time, but they're pretty interchangeable in my mind. And
one thing I noticed.
Go for it.
Yeah, like if you're not playing the Navy package, the Toy Soldier has been really good for me. I cut the Navy package as well, and the Toy Soldier is so good for like the delayed value you can get. Like you can, like I don't want to pick on Bonnie, but if you're going odds and you play Toy Soldier on 5, now your Jack can kill their Hawkins on 6.
Yeah, that's a really good point, especially since I mean, outside of like, I guess what we Rebecca Brooks, so like Suru or like Helmeppo's better in that scenario, but I could definitely see 2 for the Toy Soldier, because that you just use it with Jack, you get rid of a 6 cost, right? I think that's a good ad for that. I think the only, because we're already playing the Ice Age, because sometimes Kaido needs to get rid of an 8 cost, right? So we need the Suru. We also have our Scratch Man Apu. This gets cost reduction. This is the worst card in the deck that we have to run, so our Queen doesn't miss as much. But honestly, sometimes this comes up where you just play this on 4, your opponent doesn't get rid of it, and then you can press the button, and you can get things into range for Brook. So I don't dislike running the card, but it's definitely the weakest for a deck like this that sometimes has some issues with cost reduction. Can you imagine Great Eruption in this deck, by the way? That'd be insane. That'd be super good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Russell.
I was just going to speak on, like, I don't think I liked originally playing this deck because of how it felt. Loading up my Moria felt terrible. At least when I was playing the older version. I also will say the way EU talks about this deck and how dynamic it is compared to like all the people in the strong players in the East who publicly post on, like, you know, they'll go back one format and give their thoughts on it. I think it creates like this is like the one defining deck that is extremely opinionated of how EU players believe like you guys have all these matchups wrong, and I can tell you're not playing this deck. And it's causing like not only really fun and entertaining chatter online to watch them go back and forth on it, but it makes me like want to listen to the EU players more and get a their own perspective of how they're piling this deck, because I was mega underwhelmed when I first played it.
Same. I didn't even make a video opening the box. I'm just like, it's on my, like, I opened the box for my Star decks like literally like a week ago. Like I've had them in my room for like a month unopened. Yeah. So the only thing I can think of when I see the list is like my initial issue, which was I can't load up my Discord pile fast enough, and I can't find the pieces that I need to. Which back then was finding this like Straw Hat engine, or then drawing into my geckos, and then now you fixed it with like Queen, and now you want to revolve around Jack. So for me to try and have an opinion on it without like even giving any kind of thought is really rough. Just sure, yeah.
But in general, it's so entertaining watching EU and the East just real like they're like, I respect your opinion as you as a player, but you're wrong. Like all these matchups are so easy. If you go second, I'm gonna win all of these. Auto win. This deck's tier 1.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you go first, I get it. They're like,
I
lose. It's very funny.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, and I do more of like a surface level. I think Russell, you jump into a lot of the Asian meta a lot more than I do, but it is understandable where it's hard to identify like a deck as your own without it being said, oh look, someone top with that 2 months ago, right? Or to get those identities. So I think obviously part of the reason that I think this deck is also doing well is because red purple law is gone, right? That opened up I think some room for this deck to be around, and we had a unique format for both of the finals. We have a unique format currently, and essentially a unique format with the star deck meta too. I've been really liking this trend where we're able to kind of explore a space that hasn't been explored yet. And I know this is just ending on the Luffy talk. I don't think we really have much more to talk about this guy, but I've been really excited just to open the door for testing of like, is this good now? Can this be good? Like, what was a deck that was like Reiju got second place at Cardfest finals, right? A deck that was routinely put down by red purple law just being a better deck at losing Dawn. And I think being able to discover that and make our own decisions like that, I think that's really big, and I hope that kind of trend continues.
Yeah, it kind of reflects the fact that we don't have same time set release. We don't have many discussions that are like this dynamic and passionate towards like one side or the other. But if we did have same time set release, we would probably see arguments and discussions about particular leaders grow even more between the East and the West, which in my eyes, this is the only leader that has done that so far.
Yeah.
Everyone else has been like, "Oh, Sokka stage, sure, it's still Sokka, it's still broken." Like, there's not much there. But now it's just like, all right, yeah, this is like a literal leader, way different way to build a deck compared to like typical black deck, because there's like 8 cards difference instead of 4 between each other. And so that's like, but even though saying it like that sounds like sarcastic, it's night and day when like you're actually playing it in my eyes, at least from what I've observed and the times I played it and got trashed on. So.
Yeah, or you just forget that something costs 1 more, and you're like, "Well, you already paid the cost for it, so I'm sorry about that."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this has been a really fun deck to explore. Even on the surface, yes, it's a Moria deck. Yes, we get it. He's in the deck, but at the end of the day, like Moria does enable some really cool combos, and I think like also the thing with this deck is it probably reminds you a little bit of Perona, where Perona is a really good deck at times, but you can't really successfully set up your Morias sometimes. And so it's really frustrating when you see like decks like Sakazuki, who used to do it for free, Rob Lucci, or Gecko Moria leader, and Perona. Like when I first saw him, like, oh, it's like Perona, it's a cool deck, but without being able to set up my trash for free, it's gonna be way less consistent than a lot of other decks that just get to do it for free. So, I appreciate you guys letting me talk about this deck. This is, if I was to play in a tournament, it would likely be this one for right now. Not that I ever play in tournaments more than once a year, so maybe 2025 if this guy's still viable. But I think that there is still a lot in this meta. I know that we kind of have maybe like a sleepy couple of weeks until end of October. I know we have San Diego in November too. Any of you guys going to San Diego in November? Are you guys going to Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Russell's already won his tour champ. He doesn't need to travel anymore.
No. I'm Dallas.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm Dallas, and I was very looking at the OP08 meta. I was like, is there even any? I bought a case, and I want to sell my case immediately.
Gotcha.
like I pre-ordered a case using store credit at my locals, and then now I got the case. I was like, no shot I'm gonna hit a manga. Let's just get rid of this, and then I'll go pre-order 09, because at least I can get like Shanks or something cool.
Yeah, I was similar. Ironically, this is the first set I've hit a manga, but I do think this is, from my own experience with no real facts, this seems like the set that is, the prices have been the most calm than I've seen. Maybe since like OP04, those prices for that set dropped pretty quick. OP8's been pretty tame, I think, from pricing. It's more like EBO1's gone back up in price for a lot of their cards.
That was surprising.
Yeah, it's super weird with EBO1. I would love there to be more events like a week or two after a set release, just because it's a little bit more fun to do so. I know this like last couple sets has been kind of tame for like a week or two right after. I'd love to just like have a couple events like immediately after just playing some new stuff. I know Nat's got in the way this time, but
Yeah.
for future stuff, it'd be fun.
I have no confirmation for this, but my guess is that you have to like I think it's like it comes down to maybe like product delays potentially. I think there's like a bunch of events where it's like the release before and you can't do the use the new stuff, and I think it was like, oh, they were expected this date and then it got shifted back a week, which means this tournament is no longer going to be able to run this set kind of thing. So I get wanting to kind of pad it out, but we also had like a weird July where we didn't really have a lot of OP07, like actually anything outside of store championships, which for me personally, it's a lot harder to collect data. And a 64, 7 person tournaments or 1 5-12 person tournament. The 512 usually has better data for that, but I don't know. I still think it's been super fun. I know that black's been obviously the strongest color in this game for most of this calendar year, but I still believe that there are some decks that are viable, and I'd still rather this format than honestly 60% red purple law, which was mostly what I was seeing from a lot of cursory glances over in Asia. So well, cool. We're just about at the hour mark. Actually, just passed it for this. So I will let you guys enjoy what's left of your evening for it. But I really do appreciate you guys spending the time for this again. And any we'll go down the line from Jackson to Jonas. But any closing remarks? Anything you're looking forward to in the next couple of months? I'll likely try to do another team talk with after Stardex or when the Stardex come out. Maybe even like post San Diego. But anything like in the next October you're looking forward to or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just reminded today of there's still some EU nationals going on in October, so it'll be interesting then to see, who qualifies with what, and then also like seeing people get their sort invites, myself included, because it's incredibly hard for me to get invite. Just to see like how many people are scrambling to find their invite, and then leading up to like the big event that is the Orlando Nationals.
Yeah, that event should be great. I dislike flying to Florida, especially now that I live in LA now. But I think it'll be a good time. I think it's going to be pretty grindy out there.
Yeah.
You, Russell, your thoughts for?
Union Arena is gonna be fun.
It is. It's gonna be super fun. I will not deny.
I need to start playing black decks.
you got your training wheels with Perona. You got
that's stop. If your opponent's swinging you, you lose. And they're just like, you know what? 7. You're like, yeah, you got me.
Maybe they'll swing 7 at your characters. You can try.
Oh, I would love that.
Or if they swing at your Otama, you never know.
Yeah.
You gotta swing at it. You can't let them.
Yeah,
you can't let them keep the Momo.
Maybe get a net of 1 card draw. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I don't know. 08. I'm already trying to look past it. Looking at 09, it looks very fun. I trying to lock in for store regionals. I'll probably start playing sim a lot more and trying to learn black, because it doesn't seem like it's going bad. And then, yeah. What do we have? Starter decks. Starter decks are fun. I'm hoping. I'll be honest. I'm gonna play Dofi.
Yeah, that's fine. It's okay.
I'm still gonna grind Dofi for quite some time until I get bored of it. But yeah. In general, I just wish the meta shook up a little bit more. And while I say that, I hope they don't emergency do anything about Moria, because it is such like an impactful time for both invites and then like the regionals coming up. And there's only 3 regionals. And I think like an emergency banner or an errata or anything of that nature on Moria would just put like more anxiety on the players that we all just went through leading up to nationals.
Sure.
And it's like, yeah, we already went through that. Like just leave it as is. Let everyone grind. Let everyone like perfect the play that they might not have had at nationals, or if they didn't hit the perfect list, perfect matchup, they can run into it again. And then let's see how OP09 plays out. So I'm very much just cool with the status quo. Just need to go over my own stubborn nature of how I want to play fun stuff. Just not.
Yeah, well, on the eve of the 1-year anniversary of the OP04 restriction list, an emergency ban list will come down, hit all of November.
That'd be so bad.
They'll retract it a day later, but it's still good for 30 days. Moria at 2 copies or something silly like that. But
Moria seems like it's at its worst once we get to OP08.5, which is like super surprising. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah.
And you're doing San Diego? You grinding any other events, Jonas, or have any hopes for the next couple weeks?
I will be going to both European regionals, probably to waitlist both and try to have my best, or nationals rather, both Paris and Milan, just because I like these events and they're super fun to play into. But aside from that, just gonna be store regionals and just trying to enjoy this relatively lax period. Just get to build a bunch of new decks. I think 8.5 is going to be a really fun format for deck builders. Both like the purple Luffy deck and the Smoker deck have a bunch of fun cards that I want to explore. So I'll be messing around. Hopefully one of those decks is fun enough to bring to San Diego in November.
Yeah, you've been. I mean, you've always come back to Smoker, right? Of like, is it viable now? So having its own dedicated starter deck, I think you get a lot of tools for it, and I hope you find a build that you really like, because I know you like that deck for
fingers crossed.
Is that the Tashigi?
Yeah,
five?
the Tashigi is quite good. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 5 cost that KOs a 4. They also have a new 1K body, Sengoku, that's also quite good at setting up trash, which is super nice.
Yeah.
But I'll mess around with those cards.
we could spend a whole another hour talking about your theory
yeah.
crafting and Smoker, I'm sure. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Honestly, like it's crazy to say that these 6 starter decks I think are going to be more impactful than the entirety of OP08, but they just printed some really good cards. I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
Maybe too good.
Maybe
Bo is a little broken.
Maybe that could be. I'm sure I'll find that out the hard way in a lot of ways. But honestly, though, it's been really fun just to play out some decks, and I do agree. Like, it's a little bit of a lax period, but there's still like a lot of I think viable things. I usually overlook kind of like the store locals kind of environment, just because I don't have time and I hate LA and driving to anywhere, but. I know that a lot of people are just having fun playing some like off meta stuff that can exist right now, and it's been a really good time. So hopefully it's a good kind of like rest period. I know that we do have some events the weekend after this releases. We have our first North American event, which is Cores Online. I think it's a regional. I don't remember if it's a Treasure Cup or not, but they have that.
Regional. It's
a regional. Okay. I would hope most events are regionals, that there's not Treasure Cup since the invites are so scarce, but. I'm really looking forward to see what kind of tops that, even though I know it's going to be like 50% Luffy, either one are Rob Lucci, but the other 50%, I'll be really excited to see what tops there. So cool. Well, we really do appreciate you guys hanging out and following. Again, I appreciate all you guys spending the time on this one. A lot of fun, and looking forward to seeing you guys top in the next couple of weeks at your own events. So that's going to be it for us. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you all next time.
Bye.
Hey.